in the 1st Congressional District here at the Charleston County Board of Disabilities, or Disabilities Board of Charleston County. Make sure I get that right. Evelyn will kill me. We are very grateful for Evelyn Turner, who has, and her entire staff, who have done a fantastic job of making us feel at home here. And I know we're imposing upon them to do this today. So we really appreciate all of your efforts and all of your help. We hope that today will be a productive day as far as listening and hearing what it is that people want to do with the extra money that we have from the federal government, the American Rescue Plan, the $42 million. If you have any questions about what FMAP is, and what we're talking about here today, there are some handouts at the at the front table, or I can get them for you to let you know what the FMAP is and what we're talking about. But before we do that, I want to thank. We have just short of a quorum. we couldn't have one more commissioner come because we'd have a quorum for a meeting. But we're happy to have. Usually we've been doing this with one commissioner, one listening session, one commissioner per district. Today we're happy to have not only our chairman, but also our vice chairman and our legislative committee chairman here with us. Stephanie Rollinson is our new DDSN Commission chairman, and she is joined by Ed Miller, who is the 6th Congressional District commissioner, and the man who's the host of this today is Barry Malfris. He is the 1st Congressional District commissioner. So we will open it up for some remarks from Commissioner Malfris.
Thank you very much, Rob. It is a pleasure for me to be here. I appreciate every single person who came here today, because time is more valuable than money. So you're spending your time is more valuable than money, because you can always make more money, but you can't always make more time. So we appreciate the time that you bothered to come and spend with us here today for us to explain to you a few things. We will be getting in as we go along. But before I get into what I actually wanted to tell you, this is right here is Stephanie Rollinson, who is our, as Rob just said, is our new chairman. So she may want to say a word or two before we get started.
Do that. I am Stephanie Rollinson. I am the new chairman. I think that's a good thing. We are under new leadership. We have a new outlook at DDSN. We're excited about what the future holds for those with disabilities in the state. I'm a mother. I'm from Florence. I have a child with a disability. She is a quadriplegic. My mother, I grew up with a deaf mother. So I've been around those with disabilities my whole life. I have a true passion for helping those who need my help. I have served on the Florence board, and then I moved up to the state to represent the 7th Congressional District. And I want you to know I have my cards up here. I've given just about everybody in the room, I think, one of my cards, but please come by and get my cards before you leave. I am always willing to talk with you, to listen to you, take your advice, because I'm a firm believer that we only improve by what you tell us needs to be improved. We listen to what you say, and we do our very best to serve based on what you want and how we can best serve your communities. So please take the time to talk to us, call us, email us. I spend more time on DDSN, I think, than I do on anything else, but we're more than happy to answer your questions and talk to you. This is important what we're doing today. We want to be able to use this money to help you and help those you serve. So please share your ideas with us, the best ideas for you. So I'm going to turn it over to our Commissioner Miller. Let him introduce himself.
Is it night yet? Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. How you all doing? I'm no stranger to Charleston, South Carolina. Matter of fact, my brother, he met me here because he said, hey, you get lost. I said, I doubt it. But my brother's dad, Miller, he was the first barber of black descendant come here at the center of the barber shop. So he says, stay long enough, but don't stay too long. But anyhow, most of us know Dragnet. How many of you remember Dragnet? I'm factual. Okay, dealing facts. Well, that's what we're here for as the chair. Just we're here because input comes from the crowd, and then we have to make a decision based on those inputs, and that's what we're here for. I represent the 6th Congressional District, which is Majority Whip Congressman James E. Clark, and there are 60 counties that I represent. Here in Charleston, I have to yield to the 1st, and I'll take the 6th, but you all tell my good friend, Mayor Keith Keith Summey, that Ed Miller was in town. Thank you.
I do want to add to that real quick. I feel like I'm from Hanahan. My father-in-law, mother-in-law, and sister-in-law actually live down here. My father-in-law recently passed away, but he lived right over here in Inverness. So I'm a Hanahan girl too. My husband went to Hanahan High School. So I spent about as much time in Charleston as I do in Florence. So while I represent the 7th District, I've got your interest in art as well. So I'll turn it back over to my dear friend, Mr. Commissioner Malcolm.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Let me say, first of all, since we're talking about roots of the Low Country, I have always lived here in the Low Country. I actually am from Cooper, and I'm the vice chairman of the commission on disability special needs, and I have been on the commission for about 18 months. So they don't beat me when it comes to knowing about Charleston and this Low Country, because I've lived here all of my life and know a lot less about where they know than here. So to give you an idea, but I do technically. I am the commissioner for this area. That doesn't mean that we're not concerned about all members that we serve, all the thousands and thousands of people that we have with disabilities, because we actually deal with all of the issues for all of the people in the entire state. So it is technically a statewide appointment, and I'm very thankful to Mr. McMaster for 18 months ago allowing me to begin on this journey. Before that, I was on a county board of disability special needs for 25 years, 25 straight years actually. And I am you can't tell it from, I hope you can't tell it. We'll see if anybody can tell me if they could. I hope you can't tell it, but I do have a disability. I have cerebral palsy, but I'm not standing right now, so you wouldn't be able to tell that. I thought I was going to tell you that when I stood up there, and then they tell me they wanted me to stand down, sit down here. So I'm going to tell you without showing you that I do have cerebral palsy, and I'm technically the disabled member of the board, although we don't have to have a disabled member. I'm the first disabled member in a number of years. But I did want to tell you too that this is a volunteer job for each of us to do this. So don't think we get paid to take any of your money, any of the state's money, with the exception of the DM. That's it. I am a real estate broker who has a mini storage facility and also an outdoor advertising company. So I have 2 small businesses of my own. But before I get into the actual reason that we're here, which we basically already told you, but I'm going to tell you very quickly again, is I wanted to give particularly those online and those here, 2 life lessons that my grandfather taught me. When he was 48, and I was born. When I was born, he was 48 years old. He had already been paralyzed from the waist down for 8 years. He actually got paralyzed in a logging accident, and at that time, he had his own business in that logging accident, and was paralyzed that way. And one of the 2 things he always told me was never blame anyone for the circumstances that you had. He was a strong Christian man, as I try to be, but he was a strong believer that you do not blame others for your circumstances. And he had every right to blame others for his circumstances, because if they had handled him correctly whenever he hit the ground from his accident, he wouldn't have been paralyzed. But he didn't blame the people that carried him to the hospital because they were doing what they thought was best. And I could actually blame my twin brother for the cerebral palsy that I have today, because he stole my oxygen whenever we were together in the room, is what I'm told. But I never blamed him because he was only trying to survive. He actually is not disabled today. He's a lawyer in Virginia and very supportive of me throughout my entire life. But the other thing that my grandfather taught me that I thought was so interesting is that you do not complain about your circumstances. Because, and I remember days when I would crawl across his den. On a lot of Sundays, we would be there with him, my family would, and I would crawl across his den, and I would grunt sometimes because I was crawling. And he would say to me, "Don't you complain, don't you complain, because if you complain that you have no shoes, you will soon meet somebody that has no feet." And of course, what he meant by that was, it could always be worse. And that man was the greatest man I ever knew. He died when I was 10 years old. But anyway, the other thing he loved to tell me was that you can blame God if you want, but you won't get very far because he's never made a mistake. So those are two lessons that I think have served me well my entire life, and it would serve anybody well who I think hears what we're talking about here today. But anyway, I'm going to move on to the reasons that we're actually here today, which is, as Rob said, was among other things, the American Rescue Plan that Biden helped pass increased the amount of federal matching funds that each state receives. I'm sure each of you know that every state, every year, every quarter, technically receives matching funds, and that has been increased through this act. And for this state, it amounts to about $42 million. About $42 million that we're going to receive extra in addition to all the other funds that we already received. Keeping in mind that our agency spends about $2.1 billion a day. This is in addition to that. And the great majority of that money will be spent in next year. But we do have, the commission technically has 3 years to actually spend it. And the biggest thing that I wanted you all to take from today was that any group of 7 of us, there's 7 of us on the petition, by the way, and most of us are very nice people, so I'm joking. But anybody can spend money. The thing is prioritizing money. So the point of what we're here for today really is to help, for you to help us prioritize how that money should be spent. So now I'm going to turn it over to Rob for him to bring up our first. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Malford. Just to establish a few ground rules when we start off for speakers. In order for us to hear, this is especially a big room here. We have no mic out on the audience. So if you are going to speak or ask a question, just come up to the podium, and the mic is right here so that everybody who's online will be able to hear you. And we do have a good number of folks who are online listening to the session today, and we're happy to have them as well. The first speaker that we're going to have come is our host, Evelyn Turner from the Disabilities Board of Charleston County.
Good afternoon. Commissioner Malfris, Commissioner Miller, and Chairwoman Rawlinson, Pat, Rob, Mike, and this lovely lady who I'm horrible and I forgot your name, Teresa. Welcome to the Low Country. And thank you for allowing us the opportunity to host this listening session. I've got several priorities, and I think some of our participants are going to talk about those things. But what I'd like to talk about right now, what I'd like to have as a top priority for the American Rescue Act funds to be used is to assist us in recruiting and retaining staff, particularly direct support staff, and this is why. We have 146 vacant positions here in Charleston. 120 of them are in our residential programs. We are the third or fourth largest residential provider in the DDSN system. Most of our staff are working double shifts. Our supervisors are working shifts in the houses, and I'm trying to help fill in for the supervisors at the houses. In 2020, we lost 109 employees, and we were only able to hire 56 employees to fill those spots. Most of these employees were direct support staff. We use Paycor for advertising and collecting applications. They share our postings on Glassdoor, Indeed, LinkedIn, and ZipRecruiter. In addition, we've held a hiring blitz on a Saturday, 2 drive-through hiring fairs, and posted job opportunities on our Facebook page. We offer a referral incentive to existing staff and a hiring bonus for new staff. At the beginning of this month, we began holding open interviews on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We reached out to the local colleges, the VA, and Channel 5 regarding our open interviews. We have also posted flyers around the town about our open interviews. To date, we have had no one, not one person, come to apply or come for an interview. We are competing with other employers like never before, and we're at the bottom of the barrel due to several factors. The first one, low pay. Most local restaurants pay more than $13 an hour. Chick-fil-A starts people at $15 an hour, and you don't have to work Sundays or have any kind of experience or go through the training that our direct support staff are required to go through. Let's see. The second issue is workload. We are asking our staff to do way more than is doable. A sample of things our direct support staff are asked to do on a shift include transporting, and this could be 4 people to 8 people with varying disabilities, sweeping, mopping, dusting, administering medications, showering and bathing residents, changing diapers, assisting with toileting care, doing laundry, cooking meals, packing lunches, handling behaviors, working with families, transferring a resident from his bed to his wheelchair, washing dishes, documenting how the day went on therapy, and if someone is sick, sitting in the ER for hours. And that's just a snapshot of what our staff are responsible for on a daily basis. It's not an easy $13 an hour to earn. Why would anyone want to be a direct support caregiver for $13 an hour? This issue is going on across the state. It's not just a Charleston issue, but right now in Charleston, I can tell you that staff are worn out, they're burned out because there are not enough of them, and that this is a very dangerous situation to be in when you're providing care and supports to vulnerable individuals. If we want to address the lack of staff and the quality of care being provided and be more competitive for employees, we need a competitive rate for those staff. Now, I talked primarily about direct support staff, but we also have vacancies in other areas. We have had a posting for an LPN at Charles Webb Center, our children's program, for 2 years. I would think that Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, playing with the kiddos would be great, but we can't even get anyone to come in and interview. We've had case management positions open for 2 years. We cannot find case managers. We've had a maintenance position open for Jim 2 years, going on 2 years. We can't recruit because of what we pay. They're just like, you're not even in the running. So that's just my priority. Like I said, we have other priorities for the board here, and I think some of our board members are going to talk about that. But my priority right now is direct support staff and making sure that all of our residents are safe and taken care of. Thank you.
Mrs. Turner. Director Turner, if you don't mind,
Yes, sir.
give us some of your recommendations as to how you think we should, what specific area.
I think that if we could increase direct support staff by at least $15 an hour, we might be competitive. But then also too, there's a difficulty because then you have compression. So then now you've got direct support staff who, requirements are a high school diploma or GED. They're doing they're the boots on the ground. We couldn't do it without them. You've got them making 15, and then you've got early interventionists and case managers and HR people who've got 4-year degrees and are required to have that, and they're making 15 something an hour. Yeah, 15 and some change. So you kind of have to look at the whole system. It's not just an easy fix, but we're not competitive. and we're not getting the staff. Anything else?
Thank you, Evelyn. Next, we would like to hear from Mr. Don Cronin.
If y'all don't mind, I'm gonna let Pat address the rate structure for just a minute, if you don't mind, so that we can kind of explain that to them, how that's set, so that we could, they understand that there's a try, but situation.
In our business, professional drives insecure. Is a problem. And I would say the General Assembly, we raise revenue support, starting salaries, $1 a year, 17, 18, and 19, which got up to $13. $13 an hour, nationally is a higher hourly rate, as sad as that is. Certainly $13 an hour in Charleston metropolitan area is so challenging in today's market. Way to look forward is to great increases. That goes back to consider market rate based rate. Right now, our company services in South Carolina, they're working adamantly towards getting some market rate. The market rate is a function of the challenge we have is market rate in Charleston County is the same as the market rate in Charleston. And that's where I think we have to become more sophisticated than some other states that have maybe a metropolitan type bottom line, because 146 vacancies is very over here.
Does anyone want to add or multiply, subtract, or divide what Pat has just said?
Ask some questions about it.
Question. That's what we're here for.
I just want y'all to understand, we're trying to get to that point. We're stepping into HHS and to the legislature in order to get that done. So it's not just us saying, okay, we're going to go all raise, just so that y'all know. Okay.
I don't want this gentleman here to get upset.
Based on what you just said,
Yes.
I think that's one of the biggest problems. I'm a father of an autistic son. That you just said about the channels we have to go through to get something done. We lived in Virginia for 17 years. The system was so easy there, so fluid, so quick. Lived here, and the number of groups that we have in the conference, we have to get to an answer. It's unreal compared to what we used to have. I don't understand why the state here is like that. We've seen it work other places where it's so quick. So, within a month or so, here we've been here for years, struggling in terms of health for our son. And of course, just what she was saying about the pay. You can't pay somebody $13 an hour. That's not.
And let me add this, my husband.
Sure.
What I have found out, I did a lot of going through the system for our son. A system this big that I could have a bunch of because it's so poorly put together. And one of the things, there's several things that people kept coming up with, and that was this system was there to create jobs and pay people their jobs, not using that money for the people who need it or for the families, because it's not only the people who need it, it's for the families who have to maneuver it. But this was a system set up to create jobs, and that's what it's there for, and that's not what it's supposed to work for the people who need it and for the families. And of course, if we can streamline it, we can probably save the money to be able to pay. And I don't understand that. So we moved here, it's like we've got 100 years of time.
Well, I paid my daughter, we first went on disability. She was in Georgia at Shepherd Center. And it was so much easier. We were on and, I'm kidding. And it took us years to get back on the top. So that was one of my struggles as well. And that is one of my issues. Is the streamlining.
We went to a federal senator's office, because it's Scott's office,
Okay.
to help us get help to our son.
Okay.
And once they saw his name, it was amazing how quickly they got that. So I know we can. It's incredible.
Some of the problems that we have in our state is that we're not on what's called fee for service. So that people, we don't have as much incentive to serve more people as we would if we were on what's called fee for service. We're the only state in the union. The only state in the union that is not on fee for service. And this commission is committed to getting fee for service. We are 60%, we are 40% there right now, kicking and screaming with some people, but we are 40% there. We have 64% more to go, and we hope to get that done in a very short period of time, hopefully next year. And that I think will help a lot of this streamlining and a lot of these problems, because that is a real problem that we've had. Not even whenever I was privileged enough to come on the board, and we've been fighting with it ever since. Believe me, this commission is more committed to that than any other commission ever has been, and been supposed to be done since 2012, and we have not. This commission has more fortitude than any commission has had since this commission began, and we are determined to change.
And I would like for Pat to address that. I don't want anyone leaving here with the thought that DHHS is not working with us. So I would ask Pat to address that.
I'll give you top jackets back to the case. Because what we have in our system and other states have it too. Our system is not like a Medicaid cutoff of the waitings. The waitings are frustrating. And it's like after the last recession, a lot of funds came into our system. We pushed down the waitings for additional they're needed. And that way it was up over 3 years. And a lot of it is just financial issue. But a lot of it has to do with, I think, patients get what you got, which we didn't have to approve. But at the same time, it's a funding issue. And it's a funding issue. You can all get show needs. We come to Charleston, I think 146 billion. Direct support for individuals. There's not a better piece of information to show the need for higher events. I don't know if that directly answers your question, but our funding is a function of showing needs, getting General Assembly appropriations, and HHS. That's how this works. And the quicker we can make that work, the better off we are. And I think of the fee-for-service model, it's much more efficient than the current capitated model, which is more of a lumbering, kind of a one-size-fits-all. Whereas in fee-for-service, I think you have to spice it a level of new providers into the system to create a competition in order to break some of the service models. To frustration with us for getting the actual services. Getting the actual services. Service providers. Just getting to the technical case that we had.
We ended up having the service done in residential because we could get it home service.
Right.
And that way through the state to force families.
By the services we trade. Right. That's a lot of that. You don't have these great people in the industry of services.
And that was the big complaint is that the companies are saying we can't afford to keep our doors open. And this was just for behavioral services. I didn't get into speech and OT and all that. Yes.
And information is the key, because what happens a lot of times when we don't have these kind of breakout sessions, the people that really need to know, they don't have the information. That's why what we're doing here throughout the state of South Carolina, I came over this commission, the chair and I, was in a year ago, and we saw the needs, and that's why we're doing what we're doing.
That's why you saw us struggling so hard to get into people service, and, I mean, we had people that were pushing back, and we had to overcome that to get to the point we're at today. We're actually moving forward with that, with the people service model. So just know that this commission, I see the problem. I understand your problem. I've been there. I know that feeling. It's only been 4 years since my daughter's accident, so I know what it's like, and that's one of the reasons I'm here.
You gotta let this man.
Yes, he said it. Tell us.
I'm listening. Hi, my name is Don Cronin. I serve in 2 capacities, as does my wife. I am father of Tommy Cronin, who is a resident of Allwood House out in Forest Hills. And I'm also on the Charleston County Board. I've been serving for the last 3 years as the treasurer. And 1 July, when the new fiscal year starts, I'll be the vice chairman. My wife, on the other hand, she is Tommy's mother, but she's also, he's been in Allwood for 5 years. And she not only has 1 son and 3 daughters that are, but she acquired 3 more sons, the guys that live at Allwood. In fact, last Thursday, we had a birthday party for Tommy at our house, and the 4 guys were there. Tommy and his 3 housemates and 2 of the staff. And we do that on a regular basis. We would have taken them out for dinner, but they're not to the point where we can take them out to restaurants yet. I have a couple of things that I'd like to address. First of all, I think the issue of needing people. Last week when we had that party, the house supervisor, who was going to be working Saturday and Sunday, was supposed to have Thursday off, but she took part of her day off and came with the other staff member and the 4 guys to help them at the party. So they're dedicated. They are an amazing group of people. The house is immaculate. The guys are so well taken care of. We're extremely pleased, and have been for the whole 5 years. It's been 5.5 years. I have another issue I'd like to address, and I'm not sure that this money will be able to be used for it. We got this new building, and this building would allow us to eliminate the move during a hurricane, because it's big enough. It would eliminate the need to move clients and staff totaling close to 300 people up to Columbia or wherever. The only problem is, if we lose power, we lose power. We need a generator. I don't know if the money is can be used for that. We need a generator, and the sooner the better, because we've been doing this. Tommy's been in the program for a good number of years, and
You could keep 300 people in Charleston and keep us.
well, we would have the staff could go home. Some of them, we'd have staff as necessary to be here, but any of the residential people could, the folks that live in the residences would be able to come here. We would have mattresses, blankets, food, everything with the exception of power. And we would,
So for evacuation, we have to evacuate over 300 people, about 190 some odd residents, and about 115, 120 staff to be able to take care of them. We have to spread out in 3 different buildings. I serve as an evacuation leader at one site, Jim serves as one, and Sharon serves as one. These are senior managers here. We all go on evacuation. We're there anywhere from 5 to 7 days, just depending on the amount of the storm and how wide ranging it is. When the governor orders a mandatory medical evacuation, all of our 8-bed homes must evacuate unless we had a secure, similar type of ICF site for them to stay in. So we have 5 8-bed homes. It's about 40 people that must evacuate. Now, we always evacuate all of our CTH2 folks and our independent living folks because we feel like it's safe and we don't have a safe place for them to be. We have big dreams for this building since it was new. We've put infrastructure in place to make sure the windows, the doors are all hurricane resistant up to a stage, I think, a 3 category storm, but we don't have a generator. And we're trying to be able to get a generator in here so we have power. So if it's maybe less than a category 3, we can keep folks here. And it's very dangerous to move 300 people 90 miles up the road to Columbia, especially your very medically fragile folks.
How much are we talking about
For a generator this size to be a permanent, we're probably looking close to $100,000.
That's the Pat smiling back there. We're not going to get one of the steamer generators.
So we did. So let me tell you about the FEMA generator. So I applied for that FEMA generator in January of 2017. Maybe it's January, maybe it's end of 2017, 2018. And we just heard just before the holidays that we were approved for one, and that will be at our Wren Street site. I applied for that generator for Wren Street with all the specs before we even had this building. So that generator, I don't know, would even, I don't know, maybe it can be moved from there to here. But if we had one there and we had one here, then we could, you know, split up our folks. They'd have enough room, but here we'd be kind of crammed in. We need a generator here. Yes. It is a major. Mhm. If we could keep the majority of our folks here in a safe environment, that would be so much better for them.
The only thing I would ask is, do we need to get a structural engineer to come in and make sure that this is an actual category 3 safe?
It's already been looked at.
Well, we put all of that in place when we were working with our architect and the general contractor. But I mean, I'm happy to have anyone come in and look. I mean, we're all up for any type of recommendations and assistance we can get. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
These buildings are, years ago, I've been 2 bylaws. And, so
This was a bylaw.
Yeah, and yeah,
Exactly.
they used to shop here.
Yeah, it was a shop here. But so I know they are, it is.
Okay, thank y'all.
You're good. What else?
I just want to add a couple of things in defense of the state of South Carolina. Gloria and I have been involved. Tommy is 55 as of last Thursday. And he started in what was then called Hope Kindergarten back in 1970 or 71. And we have been involved, served on the board of directors of Hope Kindergarten, served on as members of what we called then the Teacher Parent Association because we put the teachers first. Served on committees when the law came out requiring services in 1979. I was on the transportation committee for that. So we've been involved for a long time. And I can tell you that South Carolina had the first, what was then called Department of Mental Retardation, first. And there was a program, and I'm 80 years old and I forget stuff. They had a program in Missouri, and I can't think of the name of it, but it was started there, extremely successful. The second place to have one was right here in Charleston. Now, so we haven't been behind the power curve all the time. And we've got a lot of people in this state that work very hard to make things good for the people and make things accessible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Cronin. We have a Cheryl Woods Flowers, Mayor Cheryl Woods Flowers, come up here and she wanted to add something about the hurricane evacuation.
Hey, I just wanted to add one thing to what Evelyn said, and that is that there's also a very important financial situation when you have to evacuate this many people. It's about $300,000 each time they have to evacuate. And we have evacuated as many as what, 3 times during one hurricane season. If that kind of gives you any perspective. You also have the factor of staff burnout, because not only are they evacuating with people, but they're leaving their families here while they were evacuating. So I think the financial piece, though, is very, very important. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you. Yes, sir. Not anymore.
Be the mayor of.
I was Mayor of Mount Pleasant. Yeah, I like 30 years ago. Yeah.
That's all right.
Is that right? Yeah, I peaked too early. We'll say that. How about that?
I can open my seat. My wife is very amazing.
Oh, she is. Oh, wow. No, it's all good. It's all good. Thank y'all so much. This is really important time, y'all. Really, really good. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Miller, I knew that would get your attention. Okay, we'd like to hear now from Ms. Betsy Pilcher.
Hi, thank you all so much for being here this afternoon and listening to all of our concerns. And if I have permission, I'd like to speak about 2 different items. First is to echo what Evelyn said about our direct support staff and the great need for that. I serve on the board here. I'm also a parent of a young man that's in the residential program here. And I can attest to the fact that they are so shorthanded and people are doing dual duty. And in this document right here, it talks about rehabilitative services to regain skills lost during the pandemic. My son is very much a victim of the pandemic in that he's been locked in his apartment pretty much for a year watching CNN. He has given up wanting to do anything else but watching CNN. And it's a big problem. He's got a psychiatrist, a psychologist that I pay for. He has a behavioral support plan that we just need personnel to help implement it. There's not enough direct support staff to give him the time and attention that he needs to get back to even where he was before. So it's a critical need. It's our core mission, right? Taking care of these folks. And I don't know if they're restrictions around actual salary. I love the idea, the term of the metropolitan modifier. I think the way salaries are going up in Charleston right now, it's pretty hard to keep up with it. It's just going up every day. If there were any way we could do hiring incentives or retention packages or something in addition to a salary in order to get people on board and get people to stay.
Well, you asked, you said you didn't know whether there was any restrictions on what?
On what we can use these funds for.
We have about 30, I have a 30-page document right here on the different things, 15-page document on different things that we use for. Incredible how many flexibility we have, but go ahead. We have wide latitude. Short-term problems and long-term problems.
Right. So I mean, this the Cliff Notes version here that I'm reading does talk about incentive payments and retention packages, things like that. So anything we can do. It's just a really, really extreme situation. I personally have spent the last 2 or 3 days repairing light fixtures, baseboards, painting, changing locks, doing things. We don't have a maintenance person. We've tried to get a maintenance person for 2 years. And we do what we can to help, but that's just crazy that all we probably need to do is offer a little bit more money and we can get somebody. So, and my second point, sometimes when you have a bit of a windfall in funding, something like this, it's a really good time to look strategically ahead and see what you could do that would be innovative. And Evelyn has made me aware of a program of telemedicine that might be a huge cost savings for us in the future. I'm one of the deans at MUSC, and that's something that MUSC has been very, very active in telehealth. This program has the potential to save millions of dollars in avoiding emergency room visits. Also, if you take a look at, and our board gets a report every year on every month on the transportation costs, the amount of time staff spend driving individuals to doctor's appointments, we could greatly reduce that. And overall, I think we'd save a lot more money than we would spend. So it's something, it's called Station MD, and Evelyn can give you the details, but it seems to be a very well thought out program. I'm a dentist, and there is a such thing as teledentistry, and they don't have it yet, but I'm willing to contact them to see if they would be interested in having a dental component as well. So, thank you very much.
I'm going to let Pat address it. I was about to ask you if you, is it word telepathy? What is it?
Yeah, I know.
Telemedicine, telepathy.
Yeah, we had a meeting on last week. Specific.
Okay.
Very specific. And that's on the, you are outside the box.
It's a great opportunity, yeah, to do something new. And our experience at the Maddox University has been wonderful. And we're reaching people that we couldn't reach before, even dentistry.
You need to talk to me.
Okay, okay, sure,
Yes, I'm on top of it.
great, thank you.
Keep working on that.
That's right in my wheelhouse.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Also want to let everybody know if you're online, feel free to send comments in, and that we will bring those comments up and see if we can address them as we go along here. But the next speaker we'd like to bring up is Gov Gottschalk.
Can you say that again?
Gov Gottschalk.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate y'all being here today and giving us this opportunity. I'm here with my wife, Pam, and our daughter, Lauren, who is 34 years old, has Down syndrome and type 1 diabetes. This may be a little bit different subject than what you may hear from other folks here talking about today. Certainly was paying very close attention to Evelyn's description of how staffing shortages are just really a hard case right now. And I think that plays a lot into what our personal situation is here as well. The good news is that I think the solution to our situation wouldn't cost you a nickel. Just really, you said you like facts. I'm going to run down a couple of facts on Lauren's.
Like Joe Friday, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Lauren has been successfully employed full-time at Goodwill Industries for the 12 years prior to March of 2020. She has thrived there. It has been good for her socially. It's been good for her growth-wise, skill-wise, the whole bit. So when COVID 2020 hit, you know, things got shut down. She was released from her position. So for the last 16 months or so, she has been at home with us. And, you know, that's just, as Betsy said, you know, things atrophy, you know, when you're not out getting busy. Great relationship with Goodwill, both her supervisor and her coworkers. She misses them. Lauren has been completely vaccinated as of April 1st, so she is, you know, there's no concerns there. Goodwill wants her back. And what we've been told is that the holdup in our situation is her getting the necessary waivers out of Columbia, that there's a holdup, there's delay, there's a waiting list, I don't know what it is. And we've had some great interaction with the folks at the office, Jim Kilgallen and Diane DGM Polo, but they say to some degree their hands are tied. They're waiting. This is just so frustrating for us. We have a willing employer, an eager employee, and they just need a go ahead. And I think perhaps, you know, the lack of staffing is just, you know, things are backlogged. And what we're looking for is someone who can, someone who can just kind of put these together. It just seems like we've got an opportunity here to get a person who, especially needs a person, back to work in a safe, happy, productive environment. And to some degree, it gives us some freedom as well too. You know, we've had to alter all our schedules to make sure she's taken care of all day long, every day, and it's been difficult. So I would just ask if there is someone in a position who has authority to cut through the red tape to make this marriage happen. we would desperately appreciate it. I know that may not be exactly what you're here to hear today, but I think it falls under the flexible parameters that y'all talked about. And we really would like to do that. Yeah, GOTTSHALK. And I go by the nickname GUV, GUV.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, gotcha.
That old fella, gotta watch out for him, Matt.
Yeah, Mr. Browder, would you like to speak?
Sorry.
Would y'all like to speak?
Sir.
Come on.
Get an opportunity to speak.
This is Mr. Marty Browder.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As I said earlier, I'm a father of a 17-year-old son. He's autistic. I have two other daughters, my wife, Kay, here. You know, our concerns when we got here, not only for our family in dealing with trying to get services for our son, we look at other folks that were trying to get services that, you know, I consider us like very aggressive when we're trying to get help for our son. And I know there's a lot of families that we met that just didn't have that. They didn't push. They got frustrated and they quit. You know, and that's frustrating to hear because I know what we've went through with our son. He was very aggressive. Like I said, we ended up having to put him in Broad Steps up in King Street, where he's doing quite well up there now in the behavioral program there. But you know, we wish we had never had to put him someplace like that. We wish we could have kept him home. And if we'd had to,
King Street or King Street?
King Street, South Carolina. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Across Black River.
Yes, sir. Used to be. You familiar with that area?
Grew up there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a Broad Steps program up there. So we've, you know, we wish we'd have never got to that point of having to put him in a facility like that. And we honestly feel like if we had had more services at home, this might have been prevented. He might have not been where he is right now. And that's the sad part about this. And he's 17 now.
He was 17 in May.
In May.
He's probably at a level of a 2 to 3 year old.
Right. Nonverbal. But, you know, these programs are so important. We talk about pay. We talk about getting people to come in and work. I know there's budget fund. Yes, sir.
What services are you not able to get?
Behavioral services.
A big one. I went through probably 7, 8 different agencies just trying to get on the list at least. And I was not successful. Nobody. It is because you may have an agency that has 2 full-time employees because that's all they can afford to hire. And I think when we first moved here, they reimbursed, I want to say 14 an hour. I may be wrong, but I think it was around.
It wasn't much. These were bachelor's degrees.
They could offer no benefits to their employees whatsoever. Very little pay, so you can't keep people at all. And so we didn't even try for OT and speech. Jacob's speech level, like I said, 2 to 3 year old, and he's 17. So we didn't even really try that. We just tried to do for behavioral and just couldn't get anywhere. And they all were saying if we can't get the funding in. So.
Yeah, I know it sounds like a broken record, always coming back to funding, but that is the key to this whole
We have to make the
success.
broken record clean.
Yeah.
That's why we need.
And we have to keep breaking that record until somebody gets fixed.
And honestly, we have hospital, government. They pay the majority of Jacob's cost. Medicaid paid pennies
Very
compared
low.
to what our personal insurance paid. We still couldn't get it. And the thing is, if we get it to with the doctors and psychiatrists and developmental pediatricians, especially psychiatry, and for us, we needed it for this med regiment. They would say, well, if Medicaid, as long as Medicaid is not your primary, we'll take your son. Well, thankfully, Blue Cross is our primary because they all know what Medicaid is. They don't want to deal with it.
When we were looking for a facility to take care of Jacob, that's another thing. There's very few facilities in this state for children, which is also disappointing. There was actually one facility, I think it was Travelers Rest, wouldn't take South Carolina state Medicaid. They would take out of state Medicaid. Medicaid, but not South Carolina's Medicaid. That's an in-state facility that wouldn't take our state's Medicaid because of the funding, because the payment was so bad. And that's unacceptable to me, that we can't even get services in our own program. A facility won't accept its own state's Medicaid reimbursement. We were fortunate to finally get into Broad Steps. I wish it was closer to King Street, but that was the closest that we could find.
We have a once in a lifetime opportunity, because Charleston is about retooling. That's a buzzword, right? So the inputs are very valuable to us that sit on this side, so that we can help to retool. I don't know whether this train is ever coming back again, but the train is in the station, and we are here to get what I wrote down: constructive information. We're here to gather. You won't get all the answers today.
No.
But I'll guarantee you, I said like normal power. I know all of these folk here and the ones that are not here. I even know Miss Turner. Look at the smile on her face. That's so her personality, and I've never met her. Her personality told me when I walked in that we got something here that we can work with. And so a lot of times we don't conversate. One fellow over there talking, other fellow over there talking. I remember one time my sister was talking, and my daddy looked at her this way. He said, "I'm talking." Everybody, she shut up then. Right. So that's what we're here for. That's the reason. Go ahead.
Let me get a clarification. The facilities that he's talking about, the Untitled Chapter, Evelyn and King Street, those are private facilities.
Right.
Right.
So we didn't manage this.
No, it's an over.
You're union, and you have those type of needs, generally go through Medicaid, managed care organizations for those services. That's not even our responsibility. What happens is you get cases that are so unique. I vaguely remember your case where managed care won't pay anymore. They come to us a last appeal, even though it isn't our lane. We find state funds for those. There's families that are what's in, and so, that's the complexity of the system. And
What doesn't have any facilities where you like?
we do not treat our facilities, adults, and they're 21, really get insurance off of state Medicare, state plan.
Yeah, for youth, there's.
It's a little bit of complexity and a lot of the services that you're talking about. Even though your child is a DSM eligible individual, the services and service rates that you are addressing, on HHS, personal care, health, those things. So it is complex. How do you control those things? But I think if you look at the state and if you look at what Medicaid is trying to do, is really should be reinforcing to the highest extent, serving our individuals at home to keep them from a higher level setting. And so you hear we're not doing a good job of that. That's a clue that that's really our main mission. Home and community based home. We want to serve them at home first. Otherwise, we can get in situations.
We all knew that Jacob would have to go into the facility as an adult, because as he ages, we age. And we knew that was going to happen. We just didn't think at 15 we were going to have to send him to a facility.
One is old. I said Evelyn. I didn't say which one. So Pat has already agreed that he's going to have a conversation with you all.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Appreciate that, Mr. Browner. Is there anyone else here who had not signed up that would like to speak? Okay, Ms. Muirhead, Anthony Muirhead, come on up.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you. My name is Angela Muirhead. I am a parent. I've lived here for 7 years. I applied for state Medicaid through Healthy Connections the day we got here. So I've come from another state where my son had a lot of services and a lot of funding available to him. I'm going to talk first off as a family member, and then I want to switch real quick and talk to you about a business professional in the community and what I'm trying to do to help families with children with special needs. But our experience with my son, he's moderate to severely disabled, and he needs every type of support that you could imagine. And we have gone through all 3 waiver programs here, and we have lived here 7 years. And for the first 5.5 years, we could not find a personal care aide. I've been through 5 or 6 different case management companies. I'm now with the DSN board. And having the experience of going through the 5 different case management companies was a big challenge for me, because I was always told, here's the list you call. You go find the agency, you go find the care providers. But I already knew there weren't any care providers. And so looking at it from an agency standpoint, they're never going to fill those positions in the agencies until the hourly rates go up. And you can no longer do market research based on Indeed or ZipRecruiter or look at this per capita versus that per capita. 70 to 80% of the jobs nowadays are searched and secured online through social media. So if you go and you do the market research and you look at the social media will tell you the average rate is between $15 and $20 per hour for a personal care aide, personal nanny, babysitter, childcare. I have searched it, I have vetted it, I have gone through background checks, I have done everything to find my son a personal care aide. That being said, we finally got a situation in place where we finally got a care aide for our son last year. But I still pay 45% of that rate personally. I have to do a payroll with the agency. I also have to do a payroll in-house in my home to afford that care provider. So for 5.5 years, I've paid for 10,000 hours of childcare personally. I tried to work with the Jasper County DSN board to do a behind the scenes payroll, and that was not conducive for me as a mother doing payroll at home, because I wasn't going to file an amended tax return every quarter to subsidize that payroll that I needed to pay for that extra person in my home. So I am still today out of pocket paying 40%. Because you guys aren't providing the funding. We need, as a group, as a commission, we need to find a way to get the funding into the hands of the care providers so that the agencies and Evelyn's group can be successful, and every other DSN board in the state. Okay, but here's the other part. There's circulatory provisions within your regulations that prohibit my son from getting any services on the waivers until he has respite in place. So if he doesn't have respite in place, he gets no incontinence supplies, he gets no behavior therapy, he gets no day treatment, he gets nothing. So on any of the 3 waivers. So you know what, it's a circulatory problem that puts me right back to the very beginning that says, until you, mother, can find a personal care aide to refer to your agency, we can't even get your son incontinence supplies. Those regulations have to be fixed. Okay, there's no way that you guys are going to be able to allocate funding to increase hourly rates until you look at the inner regulation that exists under these statutes. So as a family, I have taken on a lot of burden that I don't have to do, in addition to 24/7 care for my son, who needs 24/7 care because he's unsafe. He's nonverbal, he has an intellectual disability, he needs constant supervision for safety so he doesn't get hurt, he has seizures, he's got all kinds of challenges. So that in of itself is a lot for a mother and a father, and he's only 15. He's also been homeschooled for 5 years because the public schools are unable to support his level of need. And every conversation I've had with certain people in the state about how do we get programs around to help these children who can't get their needs met in public school? And the answer is always, well, these are the Department of Education's responsibility. No, this is the commission. This is why you're here, is for that purpose. So as a family, I don't want to take up everybody's time today, but there is a lot of information I can give you about the intricate details and the challenges that I have faced with the DDSN department. And it doesn't matter which waiver you put me on, but it's a funding problem. And so I want to switch gears real quick and talk about this from a business standpoint.
Before you go there.
Yes.
Services that you need, you can't provide. The provider won't do it. State rate, they get the state rate plus you get out.
Yeah, pay an extra compensatory rate.
So couldn't attract them with Medicaid rates, you have to come out of pocket.
I have to come out of pocket because you have the state rate, and then you have the middleman rate, and then you have the care provider rate. And the care providers, if you look at social media, they are not going to take a position in this part of the state. I can pretty much assure you it's Columbia also, because you've got the students from USC who are funneling into those positions. And if you go look at market research on social media, it's between $15 and $20 an hour. It goes back to the rate. And then Evelyn and them cannot fulfill their role in finding case managers and get the care in the home until you increase that funding.
And the system rates, that particular rate is set by Department of Health and Services, not only for our population, but for all the state population. So on the rates, that on rates, compare our state to others. See, we hear everybody's both saying the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a rate machine that's not providing enough access to services.
Correct.
I think
It's a logjam. It's a logjam because you can't get any of the other services. It's a circulatory provision in the law.
the whole rest of it should do anything else.
The rest of the issue, I've been through that as well. It is a very, very market providers who will accept the pay that they offer.
Right.
I've experienced that, and the time, is an issue as well. How much time you have to guarantee them X number of hours a week and that kind of thing.
And they don't want to drive over the bridge and gas at $3, $4
Yeah.
a gallon. You're never going to get it.
There is a struggle.
You're never going to get it.
So, yes, I do the same thing for whites and
Yeah,
stuff.
so I want y'all to consider, and this is leading into my next side of this from the business side.
I don't want to lose your thought.
Yes.
Ms. Turner, what say you?
I just wanted to address the issue that she was talking about with the waiver. I know you're talking over there.
Yes.
With the waiver, because her son, you said is 15 years old. So with the waiver, there are certain services, I guess, that Medicaid says that, someone under 18 can get. And with her having a waiver spot for her son, he's got to at least have one service through the waiver. And right now, because of his age, respite is the primary service that most folks get. But I'm sorry, to keep the waiver. Yes, exactly. To get her waiver, keep the waiver. And she has to continue to receive a waiver service, respite at this point, for at least 30 days. And if she doesn't for 30 days, then she loses the slot and everything starts all over again, all their enrollment. So that's what she's talking about, not being able to, it is a vicious, nasty cycle for our families. And it's horrible for the case managers to sit there and say that to the families because it doesn't make any sense, but those are the rules and regulations that we're playing by. And and it's, like I said, the vicious circle, you got to have the service, but you can't find the provider. And then if you do find a provider, you can't get them through all that training that they have to go through with the Respite Coalition, and then get them in.
I finally found a person that was willing to do my service. It took them upward of 6 months to get through the Respite
Coalition. And then to get through.
Yes, it was very.
Yeah, and then I've gone through 5 of those in 6 years.
I found mine in
Yeah.
December, and I just got her through last month.
That's typical, and that's unfortunate.
And I'm fixing to go to PCA, so,
Right.
with my daughter, so I'm right in your boat. I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, good.
What's your name?
My name is Angela Muirhead,
MIER,
MUIRHEAD.
You've done, don't get done. Not so bad.
That's fine.
You documented quite a bit. Okay. And probably what we need to do is have you probably come up to the level and sit down and bring the facts. And then let's see how we can assist in. There's always an answer.
Absolutely there is. Absolutely.
That's the purpose of this commission. Is always an answer.
Absolutely.
Bring us what you have. Let's sit down and let's figure this out. Is that fair?
Absolutely. I would very much appreciate that opportunity.
I would love to meet you. I'd be right here with you.
Yes, thank
I'll be
you.
there.
Okay, good,
I'll
good.
be there. No.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Nobody here, they ain't know Ed Miller with this thing.
All right, just to illustrate your point,
Yes.
Commissioner, is respite rate is at $12.69 an hour. providers who really provide that service. So our individuals they're almost by default forced to be self-directed, which is not a bad thing. The problem is getting caregivers certified through an internet process just seems is a lot longer than walking down to the local ward and getting your TV shot, getting your fingerprints, and start 2 days later.
Well, the cost of that, I will tell you, like, for example, the person that I got was an 18-year-old girl, okay? And she happened to have helped my daughter and that kind of thing. And it was upward of $400 after she had all her TV, had all of her first aid. I mean, that might be something we can look at as a commission is covering those costs for the providers to encourage that. I mean, something we can get on that list.
On our budget, that should be passed in short of the House and Senate have agreed to increase the rest of the $7 million. And the idea was to get that rate up to $16 an hour, so that maybe some boards or businesses can get in, so that we can get caregivers locally provided, qualified, and that they can be able to give a rate that is somewhat equal to the self-directed rate, so you would have a choice. But even with that, we had a meeting this morning, they're saying pay $16 for a business investment, still be able to. That's the challenge we have.
I have something to add to that. Not only raising the rate, but one of the other complaints was how slow the reimbursement was to get to these companies. They were, and that was one of the issues with like the private psychologists, psychiatrists. They don't get their payment for 6 months, and they can't wait to pay their employees. So not only does the rate need to go up, but the reimbursement time needs to happen a lot quicker, getting the money to these companies.
Keep in mind with that respite rate, keep in mind the compression, because the few direct support staff that I have that are making $13 an hour are going to go jump and do respite for 16. I'm just it's a domino effect. Yeah.
Well, what we have to do is we have to look at the whole and not the part. Because all of the subparts, then we look at the whole, and then we set priorities with the inputs, the input that you guys are giving us, and Director Turner, I'm looking for.
That's our right.
Yeah.
But this is very valuable. I didn't mean to cut you, but I didn't want to leave that.
No, I'm fine going deep. If we need to go deep, I'll come to Columbia, we'll go deep. I've got lots of notes.
Well, what we'll do is you come
I think
to
Marty
us,
knows me.
and we can go as deep as you want to go.
Okay, good. The other side of this, I want to make a recommendation to the commission.
Go ahead.
You guys have $40 million to spend in the next year, right? You've got some restrictions. I want to recommend that you look at how that money can be best served across the entire lifespan of the population that exists in South Carolina. We've got, 650,000 people disabled? You have 106,000 children between the ages of 3 and 21. You've got baby net programs that does get some funding, but they need more resources. So I think as a commission, I want to make a recommendation that you look at forming potentially a percentage subcommittee for each different age group. Let's say baby net 0 to 3. You look at the age group 3 to 21 because there's a cliff at 3. Then you look at the cliff at 21 to 45, and then you look at the cliff from 45 to 80. And I think you should look at that $40 million and you should make sure you cover every group, every age population, because there are significant needs in every age population. And although I'm Angela Muirhead, a family, a parent here for my son, I'm also the executive director of the Beautiful Gate Center. And I have spent 6 years working volunteer to create the first developmental learning center for children with autism and developmental disabilities in the state of South Carolina.
What did you call that committee? What name did you?
I don't know. I'm recommending a committee. Would anybody got a name for it? Where the whole life cycle, right? The lifespan.
I know one person that is such as form. I know one person that will be on that committee. I happen to be looking at it.
Yeah. But I think you should look at, there's needs from every age population in this room. There may not be baby net families here, but I can tell you what, I have 800 followers that are following our center. We've got another 1,200 followers on our social media page. And so that takes care of a large population of families here in the Low Country. And I can tell you, I read 35 different Facebook groups and I know what these families need. And I know what their concerns are and I know what their complaints are. We know which schools are good. We know which waivers are good. We know which, everybody knows there's no day treatment programs for children 3 to 21. There's also not a lot of good day treatment programs for adults. And you got to think about 30 years ago, 35 years ago, our country swept through to get rid of all these institutions, but where did all the people go? They're either in the homes or in the school districts. That doesn't work. We've got 50 years of empirical research and evidence for how these children can continue to learn and grow and thrive. So there is no reason why there aren't day treatment programs for every age group for them to continue to learn. So the Beautiful Gate Center will be the first day treatment program, which I hope will someday be covered under a case management waiver. Even though the statute says DDSN supports children and adults with intellectual disabilities, I need a day treatment program for children 3 to 21. And if you have a day treatment program that's funded by Medicaid, then you may not need as many case managers and respite in the home because those children could be in a day treatment program 30 to 40 hours a week. So we need to look at some more innovative ways to catch up with some other areas of the country who have established innovative methods for success for not just the families, but for the Medicaid and the commissions.
I'm sure you have some of that info too.
You bet I do. I have a lot of marketing surveys and SWOTs, and I'm very much into data, and it's a big concern. And the one thing I want to share from you from a family's perspective, if you look at the data and statistics, 85% of families are divorced that have special needs children. They cannot handle the daily care and what it takes to take care of some of these children. It doesn't matter whether they're mild, moderate, or severe. You have the 85% substance abuse rate. You have families, there's a 65, 70% chance families are going to die young, parents are going to die younger because they don't have the time to take care of themselves. It's beyond just filling out a form, do you have mental health issues? So there's a lot of data out there that we need to look at. And the other part, this is a very sensitive subject, but I am going to say it. An 85 to 90% chance that these children are going to be sexually or physically abused in a public environment. And you wonder why parents do not want to take these children out of the home and into the community. And they shouldn't be in their homes. They need to be accessing their communities and be social and involved with their peers and their neighbors and neighborhoods. So we've got to fix this. We've got to fix it. So I applaud you all for being here today on this commission. And what you do with this $40 million is going to be, like you said earlier, we're at the train tracks, right? We've got a chance to take this in a new direction. And South Carolina needs to be a leader. And one of this program we're creating is going to be one of the best in the country, the way we've set it up. So please know we care about the families in this community. We care about the DSN board, and we want you all to be successful. And I want to help however possible. Thank you.
Turner, create a schedule. Come on up to Columbia. Okay? Sooner rather than later.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're at the end of our speaking portion, and we have no online comments. So I will ask the commissioners to add any final comments that they would like.
I just want to thank you all for being here today. And I want to thank you for your input and thank you for your information. I'm taking every page of notes I have as full notes from you all. And I don't want this to be the end of our conversation. This should be the beginning of our conversations with you. We are a very interested commission. We're not perfect. I would be the first one to tell you DDSN is not perfect, okay? But we have plenty of room to improve. And the way we improve is by sitting here and listening to you and taking those ideas and figuring out ways to solve the problems of DDSN. I'm a parent who has a child with special needs. I understand your plight. I understand what you're going through. I've been there. I feel that, okay? And I want you to know that we're going to do everything within our power to fix these problems and to make DDSN what it should be in the state. And I want you to know that you have my card right here. I've given most of you my card. Call me. I'm I will sit and listen to you and take notes on it or take it back to my committees and see if we can get some solutions to your problems. Okay? Know that I'm here for you.
Yes, I just want to say that we received a charge from the Medical Affairs Committee of South Carolina and Governor Henry McMaster, whom I've known for many years, and he's a serious guy. He called me and he said, "Yes, Governor." I said, "Yes, sir, Governor." He said, "Let me speak with Mayor Miller." My wife is a great grandniece of Dr. Mary McLeod of Maysville, South Carolina. And he said to Mayor Miller, he said, "Look at here." He said, "I need to head off the bench." He said, "Now, when he comes off the bench, I don't want him sitting down on my bench. I want him out there amongst the people, getting the facts. Not rules, facts. You guys are the facts." When I rolled up, I saw some young people, they were waiting, getting on the bus. They were waiting. I waved back. They didn't know me. I didn't know them. But they felt as though they knew me because they kept waiting. Going up the step, they were still waiting. I said, "I'll be back." And we are here, this commission, I'm telling you, I'm not a lazy and sit down person. After my first meeting, I went there to look around. I looked at that. See that smile on his face? I said, "Okay, good." Stephanie and I, we came on the same time. And I met Barry. Barry says, "I'm from Beaufort." I said, "I'm from King Street, South Carolina." He said, "Well, let's go to work." And that's what we've been doing. That's why we are here. As long as the door is open, even if it's not open, the window is kind of halfway cracked, the commission's coming in. I rest my case, I get back the balance of my time.
Thank you very much. We're over our time, so I'm not going to take much of yours. I will say that I want to thank each of you for being here again. I think this is something we should probably do at least on an annual basis, and maybe even more than that. Certainly on an annual basis, in order to get the thoughts of those who actually deal with the disabilities on a day-to-day basis in this way. I know there's a lot of things that our state can do differently. Like I said before, I think the biggest thing is we can do fee for service, which I think will help a lot of many of these issues that we have. Obviously, money is a big part of the issue, as it is for any issue, but money is not the only issue. There's a lot of red tape and law and legislative laws and things of that nature, political things in the reality that stand in the way of some of this stuff. So just keep in mind it's not always money. We are committed to doing more with getting additional waiver responses to bring. I don't know if there's anybody here, I don't guess it is. I hope there's somebody online that's looking for services, because we are also committed as a commission to increase the number of people that are currently receiving services. So, but I don't think there's anybody here in that case. But I just wanted to, the last thing I wanted to tell you was that I appreciate again Governor Baxter's opportunity to be on this commission and to hear from each of you. It's something that I've wanted to be a part of for many, many, many years, and thankful to be a part of it now. But I do a lot of reading, and I would encourage each of you to do that. I think there's a lot of learning to be done in reading. So I want to leave you with a quote from a book that I like a lot. That was written by a woman whose child has an intellectual disability. And the book is called "Give Me and God a Chance" by Lancey Jeans. And the daughter's name is Carrie. And this is one of the quotes from the book that I thought was so good. It's, by the way, not a long book, so if you're not even a big reader, it's a very short book. It'll probably take you a day to read it. It's a very good book. It says, the quote goes, I know kind and inclusive people deem the term special to be inappropriate modifier. As I see it, no one who is disabled, including Carrie, wants to remain in a special group. She wants to be accepted for who she is and what she can contribute. Participation trophies are not treasured. Beyond our limitations, we are all gifted. I do not think even a kind title causes a person to strive to be their best. If I have something to overcome, encourage me by seeing past my limitations. And that's just one of the wonderful quotes in that book. I just couldn't recommend it to any of you anymore. And it was written in 2018. So thank you very much for allowing me to be here. And again, and that's the last time I'm going to say that. The last time I'm going to say any of this stuff, except to say that I'm closing it out. And I closed it out today because I'm technically the host of this event. So I appreciate it. One last time, everybody coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Malphus. Commissioner Rollins.
Sure. It's called Give God and Me a Chance. And it's from a woman named Lacey Jeans. It's called Give God and Me a Chance from Lacey Jeans. LANEYJEANS. Thank you. And it was written in 2018. Thank you.
Okay, I want to thank our commissioners for their time. This is Commissioner Miller's second listening session that he's attended. We have two more coming in the next 2 days. Tomorrow morning in Union, we will have our next one, and then Commissioner Rollinson will hold hers, and we'll finish up in Florence with our final listening session. Thank you very much. Thank you to the commissioners, and thank you very much to all of our participants. I think we had a great conversation here today. And with that, we will sign off. Thank you very much.